filling in your eyebrows and putting just a little bit of eyeliner on when you go on stage can really make a big difference when it comes to kind of helping your eyes pop on stage. I think especially filling in eyebrows, almost everybody needs to do that. If you feel like you don't, I recommend going on stage and having somebody take a picture of you or a video or whatever it is under whatever stage light you're going to be in your costume against the set without your eyebrows filled in, and look at that. And then you might see why you may need them filled in. So even if you have really strong brows in your everyday life, once you get on stage and you're under the lights and you're in a big, like, fantastic costume on like a giant set with lots of color, sometimes little features like that can get lost. So it's really important that we kind of just bring those back in. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to change the shape of them or anything. Usually you just need to add in just a little bit of color. I like to use a brow pencil on myself. You can use powders, eyeshadows, there are pomades and gels. Some people get theirs like dyed and tinted. There's a lot of different options, but usually a little bit of color is really going to help you out. So I usually like to start like towards like the middle and the end of my brow, because that way I feel like I don't make the front of it too thick. Really generally speaking with brows, the front of your eyebrow usually lines up with kind of like the edge of your nostril, and then if you go like at an angle, usually the arch of it, if you have more of an arched brow, would be with like the edge, the outer edge of your eye, and then your eyeball, your iris, and then like the very end of your brow would be like the end of your nostril and then the end of your eye. Not everybody's eyebrows are going to follow that shape, but that's just kind of like a very general way to shape them, if you are wondering. So when I do it, I like to use like a little like not like brush strokes, but I guess like little like pencil strokes. I don't just like blockily fill it in. I think it's much better if you do it in smaller little strokes, because then it's going to be more like hair. So even if I'm doing it with like a powder or like a pomade, I try to do it like that just so it looks a little bit more natural. Usually when you're on stage, nobody can really tell how you put it on, so as long as you fill them in some way, you can always go back in with like either your powder highlighter or your cream highlighter or foundation, concealer, whatever it is, and just kind of clean it up if you go a little bit too far. So I like to extend mine out a little bit. Eyebrows are really personal, so I feel like as long as you have a little bit of color in them, if you're not comfortable, a lot of people don't like them to be that long, or they don't want them to start right there. They're your eyebrows, so as long as you can see them on stage, that's really what most people are going to be concerned with. And then I'm missing a little bit of hair, so I usually have to fill mine in just a little bit more than everybody else might have to, or others might have to. And so when I first put my eyebrows on, I feel like they're very, very blocky and not natural, but then I just always go back and I smooth them out with highlighter. So I think a lot of people are really focused with like applying them perfectly at first, but this is usually how they look when I put mine on, and then I just go back and kind of clean them up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and I usually try to use like a little bit of like a smaller brush to do that. So something that's like still dense. Obviously I really like denser brushes, but it's just like a little bit smaller. And I'll go in with whatever like my under like eyebrow highlighter is, and I just kind of like smooth that and kind of buff it. So it's not little circles necessarily for this part, but it's just sort of this like repetitive back and forth motion, and that helps to just kind of like clean up your brows and make them look a little bit more natural. Some people like a really like squared off pronounced brow. I am not one of those people, so usually I just kind of let mine be a little bit more natural. Usually it's up to you kind of how you want to do it, but you might have somebody that doesn't necessarily want you to have like the really trendy like Instagram eyebrow as I call it, so you might have to kind of alter the way that you normally shape your brows just to kind of fit what your character might need on stage. Again, you can kind of just go through and just kind of like smooth out any spots that might be a little bit too intense, but you can see my eyebrows are pretty small naturally and pretty thin, but this color is just slightly deeper, and that's one thing. If you're going with like whatever your natural hair color is, you don't have to make like, I don't need to make my eyebrows dark brown so someone can see them on stage. They're still like a shade of blonde, but if I'm gonna be a redhead on stage, I might want to make these slightly red to match my wig. So really you shouldn't necessarily have to change like the color of your brows unless the color of your hair is going to be changing. So I think a lot of people will use like super dark brown eyebrow pencils when really they should be using something that is more of like a taupe or like a blonde or something, or like if you're a redhead and they make you have like dark brown eyebrows or something, like you should go with whatever looks natural on you and feels natural on you. Unless, of course, like I said, like if you're getting put in a wig that's a completely different color, like if they were going to make me a brunette, then I might want to make my eyebrows a little bit darker so that they match what I'm wearing. But otherwise, you should really try to keep it to a more natural color. There's a lot of eyebrow products out there now, so it shouldn't be too hard to find things like that, compared to like probably when stage makeup first began. There's probably just like brown and black eyebrow pencils, but now there's pretty much every shade, so it shouldn't be too tricky. So the next thing we'll kind of talk about is eyeliner. I do not think that every person needs to have eyeliner when they go on stage. I remember in high school, everybody had to put on eyeliner. We all had this really horrifically poorly applied black eyeliner. Black eyeliner will give you a lot of definition because it's intense, but it's not necessarily going to be the correct color for everybody. I usually like to use, like, in my own life, I like dark brown, I wear like purples, so sometimes you might want to go with a color that's a little bit more flattering to like your natural eye color. I will use black because I do feel like that's like the standard theater thing. Personally, I usually just use eyeshadow and I kind of like buff in a darker color. You could use this same like contour color and kind of buff that along as long as you set it with a powder. But I will use like a pencil just so that we can kind of get an idea of how that would look. I'm gonna have to get a little bit closer to my face probably, but I'll try to just do it in here. So I think with eyeliner, a lot of people just draw like this big straight line. One, you want to do it in smaller strokes. You don't necessarily want to put it all in at once, just because it's a tendency to get kind of like uneven that way, and I think it's better if you fill it in smaller areas. Everybody looks better in different eyeliner shapes. There's not really one that's going to work for everyone, but generally the closer to your lash line the line is, the more natural it's going to look, and the higher, and like I guess the higher up it goes and the further away from your lash line, the more of like a dramatic eyeliner you're going to get. So if you're just trying to do something really natural, I would recommend getting as close to your lash line, so that's like your upper lashes, as possible. Again, I could just put on mascara and be done with it. You don't have to put on eyeliner, but I do think a lot of people like to on stage. If you're going to wear fake eyelashes, I think eyeliner really helps. It also helps just kind of like hide the band a little bit too. But so if we're gonna do this, so usually to do it, I feel like I start kind of like in the center of my eye, and so this is like a gel pencil, so it goes on pretty smoothly. I typically will use like a cream liner, or like I said, I use my eyeshadow a lot, but you can use whatever eyeliner you like best. But I'm gonna try to get this really, really close to my lashes, and then I'm gonna go back over it with like an angled eyeliner brush and kind of smooth it out. So I like to wear a lot of eyeliner, so it's hard for me to not put on like a ton of it. I also rarely ever use a pencil, so this is getting a little bit rough. But so you can see, like, I very roughly applied that, right? But again, I'm on team, like, you can apply it however. It's all about like how you go back and blend something out. So right now, that's a little scary. It's a little bit too much eyeliner. But I can just kind of take, because it's a softer eyeliner, so if this was not such a soft pencil, I would not be able to go in and blend it. And if it's something that dries really quickly, like a lot of like the felt tip eyeliners that dry really quickly, or some liquid, you wouldn't have this blending time. But I am not so great with those, so I prefer to have eyeliners that I know that I can really blend. So this is a little bit more eyeliner than what my original intention was, but I think that's just naturally how my face goes, because I'm just always worn a ton of eyeliner. But you can see I'm just trying to like work it closer to what my lash line is. So from a distance, this is not going to be too bad, because if I was really far away from people, it's going to seem a lot more normal than how it does right now. If you want, you can wing it out a little bit. You can kind of just like, I like to do wings with my eyes open, and then you can kind of connect it from there if you want to. And again, you can also use, like, if you do have like an eyeliner pencil, you can use that to kind of like further shade your eye as well. I think a lot of people like to do winged eyeliner. It can help like open up the eye, but it's not necessarily going to be like the most flattering eyeliner on everyone. So I do kind of caution you against that. So if you end up with like little spots like this, like I just did, that's when I also come in either with like my concealer or with whatever my highlighter was, and I just clean that back up. And same here, I got a little bit too deep into like my inner corner, so I'll have to come back in and clean that up. But that's why I like to have these like little like stubbier dense brushes, because then I can kind of just like fix this up a little bit. So you can see, so I do makeup all the time. I do makeup on other people can still barely put eyeliner on myself, so eyeliner is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. I recommend trying out all different kinds until you find one that you feel like you're most comfortable using, just because it can get a little tricky. Usually I feel like I have to go back in and like reshade there, but you can see though, if I was farther away and I had this on, that's going to make my eyes pop a lot more than if I just went on with no eye makeup at all. So again, if you're somebody who's not used to wearing makeup, this might seem like a lot up close, but in reality, if I was really far away on stage, this really would not be a big deal. It's going to seem like a lot if you never wear makeup. So I recommend maybe if you're like really uncomfortable wearing makeup because you just never do it, I would start wearing it. Just like maybe one week you focus on getting comfortable in eyeliner. The next week you focus on getting comfortable in blush, just so you aren't on stage worried about your makeup, just because that's the last thing you want to be thinking about, is what your makeup is going to look like. And then one more thing to finish off eyes is putting on a little bit of mascara. I don't think, again, it's like eyeliner. I think if you're going to wear eyeliner, a little mascara is going to help because they kind of go hand in hand almost. I think you can wear mascara without eyeliner, but having on all this eyeliner and then having blonde eyelashes like I do, I look like I don't have eyelashes, so I am going to put on some mascara. I like to curl my eyelashes. I think that helps them a lot. I have really like straight eyelashes and very blonde ones, so I feel like if I don't do it, it's really hard to see them. If you're somebody who either sweats a lot, or you're going to be doing something outside, or where it's like really humid, or if you just feel like your eye makeup comes off a lot, I would get a waterproof mascara, just so you know that it's going to stay on when you're on stage, because you don't want to be worried about your mascara like dripping down your face or like ending up underneath your eye. And when you put it on, I like to kind of put like the top on, and then you kind of just like move it back and forth on your lashes. A lot of mascara, I think, is extremely overpriced. I think a lot of it is just like finding like a brush type that you like. I think that it's probably mostly the same formula for a lot of brands, but a lot of them have different brushes, so I think the more brands you try, the more you're going to figure out like the type of brush that you like, and then you can kind of like go from there. But basically you just kind of like work it into your lashes, and that's going to help you get a more even coverage. If you are somebody where you feel like it travels down a lot, I wouldn't put any on your lower lashes, just because you don't want to worry about like accidentally touching your eye, or like if you're sweating, you don't want to end up with like little like rings around your eyes or something. So just kind of be like mindful and careful of those things. Usually I'll let that dry, I do my lips, and then I come back and I curl them again and add a second coat of mascara. But at this point, we just have to finish up our lips and then set everything, and our little basic stage makeup would be complete.